Hey, what up? This is not a podcast. It's just my thoughts with Rob Markman, but you already knew that. I hope everybody had a great weekend, had a chill weekend. Mine was chill. Spent a lot of family time, a lot of time with the fam. Did some work for sure, but kicked it, relaxed, had some family time. Went to the movies with my 16-year-old son. We went to go see Piece by Piece. That's the new Pharrell Lego movie. For me, it was beautiful just to be able to watch Pharrell tell his story, which is a hip hop story, and to tell it as creatively as he did. It was just amazing. I'm gonna give you my thoughts. I'm gonna give you my highlights. I'm trying not to give too many spoilers, but Pharrell's story is out there. Like there wasn't like any grand reveals in this. Like if you know Pharrell's story in his career, a lot of this stuff it was just presented in such a creative way and told the story like in linear fashion. This is an animation, so it's totally Lego animated, but it's documentary style. So imagine if you were watching like a documentary with Legos, but then some of the scenes play out. So like there's like I guess B-roll and stuff, and we see some of the stuff play out. It was amazing. It was beautifully done. I've said this before. I said I thought the Notorious B.I.G. has the best rap lyric ever, where he said, "You never thought that hip hop would take it this far," and to me, this movie is an example of that. Like to see hip hop as Legos, and I'll get into exploring, explaining why I think that. But to me, this film is the best example, or not the best example, that's far, but this film is a great example of when Big said, "You never thought that hip hop would take it this far." Um, you know, but my problem is, and I'm gonna start out with the negative first. I'm gonna start out with my disappointment, and it wasn't about the film; it was about us. We didn't support this movie. It's early Monday morning, so the box office numbers are in. I wish we'd have showed up to the theaters with our kids. We should have showed up with our little brothers and sisters, with our nieces and nephews. The film brought in around $3.8 million at the box office. It was about in 1,800 theaters, had a $16 million budget. Just an example, Deadpool Wolverine, which was rated R, was in 4,200 theaters, so it's in way more theaters. The more theaters you're in, the more money you bring in. But Deadpool Wolverine was a much bigger movie. It was a $1 billion franchise, no doubt. I'm just comparing because that I think that was the biggest movie of the year so far. Definitely the biggest movie of the summer. So we're coming off of that. But for Piece by Piece is just bringing 3.8 million at the box office. When I went, the theater was pretty empty. I went on Sunday night, and I just thought we could have showed up. You know what I mean? More. But there's always week two, so maybe we show up for week two. I just thought the movie deserved more of our support. But let's get into the film. So like I said, it's documentary style animation, so the story is told through interviews and B-roll, illustrating some of the important parts, and it's all animated with Lego, right? So it starts out with a young Pharrell in the Atlantis apartments in Virginia Beach. So Pharrell described Atlantis as a housing project. So right off the bat, right at the beginning of the movie, it's like, dog, he put the projects in a Lego movie. Like Atlantis, I think was sold. It used to be a housing project. I don't think it is anymore. I think it was kind of sold in one of those land development deals or something like that. But right off the bat, he puts the projects in a Lego movie. Now, you know what type of inspiration that could do for little kids who grow up in the housing project or something like that. So he tells a story of how he fell in love with music. He talks about his synesthesia. Pharrell's talked about this before, like seeing sounds as colors in his mind, not through his eyes, but he hears something and he interprets it as a color. So, that sets up the movie. I mean, the movie is just bright and beautiful, so there's all types of colors. He tells a story about him, Timbaland, Missy, Pusha, as kids, as young kids and teens, and meeting and hanging out and being into music and experimenting, and it was dope because I went with my son. Like I said, my son's 16, so his introduction to Pusha T is Kanye West Runaway, is My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, and he's a big Kanye fan. So my son after the movie was like, yo, dad, I'm sure it was like traumatized for the film that they kind of played it up just so it makes sense in the movie, because there's no way that Pharrell, Timbaland, Pusha, and Missy all grew up together. And I'm like, nah, it's true. Like, so just to see my son kind of discover that little fact or that little history, and part of the movie is Pharrell saying, yo, we came up in Virginia Beach. We had so much talent out here. We just didn't have a way to make it out. We didn't have a way for the world to hear us. And to see my son see musicians that he recognized but may not have tied them all together just because of his age, to have that discovery moment was cool. Chad is in the movie, which is dope. I know Pharrell has said recently that him and Chad aren't speaking, which is sad. Hopefully they get together. But Chad is in the movie, and he tells a story about how he met Chad and Shay and how they formed the Neptunes. And Chad's voice is in the movie, and so Chad has like a role in the movie, which was like really dope to see, how they formed the Neptunes, how they formed NERD, how they met as friends. So, it tells a really kind of sweet story about Chad. It tells the story of Teddy Riley and meeting Teddy Riley after winning a talent show and writing Teddy's verse for Rump Shaker and things like that. There's nods to Tribe Called Quest in this movie. Like, you'll see Tribe Called Quest posters hanging on the wall, or Pharrell wearing a Tribe Called Quest shirt. And we know they were big inspirations for him. So that's like the hip hop of this movie. Obviously, it's Pharrell's story, but like there's a nod to Tribe Called Quest in the movie. Rob Walker is in the movie. The A&R, the manager, they show him taking the Neptunes to different labels trying to get them signed. There's even a scene where Steve Stout, and I wonder if this is true, but I recognize Steve Stout's voice, is, Pharrell is going to all the different execs. So, trying to get a deal, and Steve Stout kind of shit on Pharrell and kicked them out and not sign them. I want to, know what Steve has to say about that in real life. Then there's the scene when Nori meets the Neptunes and they give him Super Thug, which was the big record. That was like the big breakout record. They had done other stuff. They had did Mace, Why You Always Looking at Me. I think the record's called Looking at Me. They had done other stuff before, but Super Thug felt like the arrival of the Neptunes for real, when like the whole world took notice. So here's the beautiful thing about Nori that I was thinking about in that theater. It's amazing to see Nori in the movie as a Lego, because if you know Nori's backstory, if you don't, I'll give you a little bit of the backstory. Back in '92, as a kid, I remember wanting to see the movie Juice with Tupac. I wanted to see it in the theaters, and I was probably about 12 years old at the time, and my parents wouldn't let me go. And at that point, I didn't have like restrictions like that, so I've been to the movies by myself before with my brother and my friends, and we would just go to the movies. It was all good. But for Juice, my parents wouldn't let me go. They were like, nah. And the reason why was because there were all these shootings. Particularly, there was a shooting in Queens. After some folks had watched Juice, and there was a shooting in Queens, and my parents was like, nah, yeah, you can't go. And they took me, but they took me to like, I had to go with my parents, and we went to like a safer part of Brooklyn. And we watched Juice, and I remember just being so embarrassed because I was there with my parents. But looking back on it, I was happy that they took me. That was a lot of love. So I didn't have nothing to be embarrassed about. But 12 years old, I was embarrassed. So every kid in New York kind of remembers this incident, because I feel like a lot of parents was like, nah, you can't go see Juice. So anyway, there's this shooting in Queens. Turns out Nori was the shooter. Nori was involved. And he got locked up on an attempted murder charge. He wasn't Nori then. He was a regular kid. But he gets locked up for 3.5 years. He meets Capone while he's in jail. They come out, form CNN, drop the War Report, classic, like one of the illest hip-hop street albums. And that's Nori's beginning, right? It's pretty scary. And it kind of, his life kind of takes a scary turn, and in a weird way, an amazing turn at a movie theater, because of the decision he made at a movie theater, a bad decision he made at a movie theater. And now this guy's in a Lego movie. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's that shit. It's like, yo, you never thought that hip hop could take it this far. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like from Juice and making a mistake that could have just ruined your whole entire life, to now you're in a kid's movie, and you turn your life around, and it's totally positive. So that's why I say, it's Pharrell's story, but it's a bigger hip hop story too. And again, I just wish we would have supported it. But look at what Nori is now. Changed his life, totally positive. He has Drink Champs. Nori is just not the same guy that he was, and now he's a Lego. I think that's pretty cool. In the same vein, they tell Pusha T's story. After losing the record deal, Pusha went back to hustling. Pharrell and the Neptunes blew up, so they're killing it, producing for everybody. But Pharrell and Chad and they make the beat for Grinding, and Pusha's back hustling. He's back in the street, and Pharrell comes back and calls Pusha and says, "Yo, get to the studio now. I made a beat for you." And so they kind of show, and it's a small part of the movie, but they show Pusha's story in this, and they talk about hustling like it. And it's in the kids movie, so they do it in a very appropriate way. It's not over the top, but it's just funny how they adapted like these real life situations that real kids go through, real young people go through, and they kind of made it relatable and made it for kids. So I thought that was dope. It shows how Pharrell and the Neptunes reached all these heights, producing for Jay-Z, Usher, Gwen Stefani, Snoop Dogg, Justin Timberlake. There was a Nas cameo. Doesn't have a speaking part or nothing, but like it's Nas when you see it. They show the rise, and then they show how Pharrell lost it all and the unhappiness that comes with success. They talked about how the Neptunes broke up, how the business just had him in the funk. Then they show him getting out of the funk and making Happy, the record Happy, and they show him, like what Happy did for him. And then like the antithesis of that, like almost the opposite of Happy, they show him make All Right with Kendrick. And they talk about that song and what that song did and how that song was birthed. And man, they put a Black Lives Matter protest in Legos on the big screen. In the movie, Pharrell talks about, and the movie is for all kids, right? Like, again, it's all different types of colors. You see all different types of people in this movie. But if Pharrell makes it a point at certain points in the movie to talk to black kids specifically, like it doesn't shy away from, like, the movie is everybody, but it's just like, yo, this is the black experience, but particularly in the Black Lives Matter part, you know what I'm saying? And I think it's a message that everybody needs to hear. But it was dope that he put those protests in a Lego movie, because kids are gonna ask their parents questions, and hopefully their parents give them the right answer. But ultimately, man, I thought it was a beautiful movie. Look, week 1 box office 3.8 million. I thought it could have done better, but there's always week 2. Like hopefully the word of mouth for this, gets people excited to go see it. But I'm telling you, man, if you don't feel comfortable going by yourself, go grab your kids, or grab your little brother and sister, or your nieces and nephews, or tell your best friend, hey, I'll babysit your kids. We're gonna go to the movies. We're gonna go see the Lego movie. But I think this deserves our support as hip hop, man. I just thought it was a beautiful film. But that's it. You know what I'm saying? That's just what I thought. If you've seen it, let me know what you thought, man. Like, hit me in the comments. I talk back. All right. Until next time. Peace.